Hey guys, so I was kind of reflecting on my video of will Ellie be good in 8.1, and not to brag, but I think I got everything pretty much right on that one. I don't recall anything I said that ended up not coming true to an extent, but the part that I was still leaving kind of open-ended was will Ellie be good in raids, because it was just too hard to tell at that point. But now that we're like 2 weeks away from Battle of Dazar'alor, I have a better idea of if Ellie will be good in that raid, and I think I can kind of share my thoughts on that. I've been kind of reading the community opinion on this, and it seemed like it was pretty mixed. There's a lot of people that seem to think Ellie's going to be excellent, and there's a lot of people that seem to think Ellie's going to be bad like it normally is. And then there's people in the middle thinking that Ellie's going to be okay, and my opinion is kind of closer to the good side of things, and I'll kind of explain why in this video, of course. But first thing first, I apologize for not having actual background video of the raid. We do not publicly show our raid testing because we do not want our strats being leaked before our day raid. So again, sorry about that, but I will be talking about some of the fights a little bit and kind of explaining why I think Ellie could be really good in this raid. So basically, a lot of people are rating multi-daughters as being like the kings of Battle of Dazar'alor, but I just don't really see that, because none of the fights I saw really emphasized multi-dotting that much, and the ones that did were kind of like lower fights. They weren't really very high in difficulty, I guess, and there was one that looked like a multi-dotting fight, but when one of the bosses died, it healed all the other bosses to full, so multi-dotting there was kind of useless unless you got single target out of it. So all in all, I don't really see a use for multi-targeting all that much. What I see a use for is single target burst windows, which, as you may know, Ellie is very good at now. So that could be something that could get us invited to the raid. But we don't really bring like an immunity or anything wild like that, so class stacking is kind of probably out of the question. But I do see Ellie as filling this like filler ranged that does high damage role, because Ellie damage is really good right now. It's not like outlier good, but it is definitely among the top. And along with being among the top overall damage, Ellie's on-demand burst damage is probably the top, especially for ranged. So that is something to keep in mind as well. When you got fights like, let's see here, like a Stonewall Blockade, where you're doing a phase where two bosses need to die around the same time, your burst might not be all that useful. But then on a boss like Jaina, there is a phase where you need to kill a wall of ice, and then after that you need to kill an elemental. But when you're trying to kill this wall of ice, there's some ice encroaching on you, and you have, if I remember correctly, roughly 30 seconds to kill it. And if it has a lot of health, like a lot of us are expecting on Mythic, Ellie's going to really shine there, because our 30-second burst window is second to none. We do a lot of damage in 30-second burst windows, like maybe a DH could keep up with their meta or something, but Storm Elemental and Stormkeeper would give us a really good edge on that. That's something that on Jaina, if that's like a main part of the fight, like that's a wall or something, no pun intended, you may even bring more than one Ellie Shaman if you had access to them. On the other fights, there isn't anything that really stands out as being a, oh my goodness, bring Ellie for this. But there's nothing that really stands out as being a, don't bring Ellie for this either. So it's kind of just an overall, like, Ellie does great damage, so you may want to bring an Ellie if you don't need to fill the ranged roster with, like, a Warlock Gateway, or an Ice Block, or Hunter Mobility or anything. I haven't really seen any reason why you would need to do that, so I do think Ellie will have a spot on pretty much every roster. However, I only think you really have room for one Ellie, as the regular ranged culprits will probably be taking the other spots, as well as Boomkin and Shadow Priest may slide in there somewhere, but I do think Ellie's going to have a solid location in the meta. Now, of course, if they end up nerfing Ellie damage, this all immediately changes, because the only reason you really bring an Ellie Shaman is for the damage. So if our damage gets nerfed, it won't even take that much of a nerf for it to suddenly become not really worth bringing over anything else. Right now, it's just high enough on the meters that it's like, okay, well, we could bring this for, or Boomkin for Innervate or whatever, but we could also bring Shaman who does more damage. What do we need more here? And a lot of the time the answer is going to be Shaman. And then another thing that's worth noting is, even on fights where like Ellie would theoretically be kind of bad, I think there might be some use for unique builds. Like on this fight, when you multi-dot, or you don't need a multi-dot, but there's 3 targets, they're always spread out. You want to kill one at a time. When one dies, the rest get a damage increase. They get like a new ability or something, and they heal to full. Now, on raid testing, I didn't really know about the power of Storm Elemental yet, so I ended up using Fire Elemental on this boss. And I gotta say that Flame Shock Maelstrom generation, every time I pop Fire Ellie, it was really noticeable. So I really wouldn't be surprised if on a fight like this you actually should use Fire Ellie. And that's a situation where suddenly we become fairly good at funneling. So maybe you could go like Master of the Element Surge of Power, or Ice Fury, or something along those lines. You'd have a lot of Lava Burst procs, you'd have a lot more Maelstrom generation for Surge of Power, or Ice Fury with the Master of the Elements. This is all just kind of speculation, but I do think Ellie could even fit in on a fight where historically it wouldn't really fit in on. And of course, like we talked about, Jaina could be a really good fight for Ellie. And there's no real bad fight for Ellie other than maybe this boss, which is like really early in the instance, so it doesn't really matter. And then on King Rosticon, there's even a use for Tremor Totem that I actually didn't catch when I was testing it. There's a mind control that you can Tremor Totem. They may have been removing that because they do tend to dislike Tremor Totem changing mechanics significantly. But even if they end up getting rid of that Tremor Totem usage, the mind control is based on a totem that has a decent amount of health. You should probably be able to kill it in 5 to 10 seconds, and that's where Stormkeeper could come in huge handy, especially if you have a Surge of Power lined up or something. Don't know if you'd actually use that on this fight, but just as an example, that's a ton of burst that you could bring to a mob like that. You could essentially solo the thing probably, maybe 2-man it with another person. And that's just another thing that Ellie can do that isn't necessarily like a mechanical. You can't soak something with Ice Block. You can't blink across the room and deliver an orb to a location or whatever. But you can do so much damage, and you have so many different options for how you do the damage that you're pretty valuable as a damage ranged. Which sounds like a weird role, but the other ranges aren't really being brought for their damage usually. But that is kind of my thoughts on how Ellie could be in Battle of Dazar'alor. Hopefully they don't end up nerfing us, and getting the extra ring of traits could change things a little bit, but I have kind of looked at Blood Mallets and analyzed every spec and their best traits and everything, and we're not in line to like fall behind due to having bad traits or anything. We're all kind of in line. If anything, we could even go a little higher because Echo of the Elementals is so good, and we could probably get relatively easy access to having 3 of those. But anyways, that is my thoughts on Ellie in Battle of Dazar'alor. Probably pretty solid. One last thing before I end this video, I want to give a huge shout out to my brother Daniel for buying me this very nice mic that I have for my birthday. So if you noticed and liked the new mic, you can thank my brother Daniel for that. So again, thank you, brother. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hope my predictions come true again, because that would be pretty cool if I could actually progress on my Shaman on the day raid, not have to learn a new class like a week before. But anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.